I just spent the past 3 days of a snowstorm analyzing Mecum Kissimmee data for 2025 and 2026, as well as a full year of Bring a Trailer's nearly 50,000 listings for 2025. And what I found is going to change how you think about the classic and collector car market. We're diving deep into real auction data that shows the classic and collector car market is going through a generational shift right now. So grab a beverage, settle in, because we're about to get nerdy with all the data. Let's go. Welcome to more Auction Secrets Revealed. I'm Rudy Samsel, the co-founder of Guys with Rides, your dealer-free resource for classic and collector car enthusiasts. Now, before I started Guys with Rides, I spent years as a big data analyst in the pharmaceutical industry. So I'm not just giving you opinions, I'm applying the same rigorous analytics techniques I use there to dissect current automotive trends. All right, let's start with Mecum Kissimmee, which just wrapped up last week in January 2026. Believe the headlines and Mecum's press release, and they have you believing record sales numbers. And that's true. But the scary part is, year over year, Mecum Kissimmee saw a 14% decline in overall listings, but achieved double the total dollar volume. So while Mecum's sales dollars were way up year over year, most of that value was driven by a certain ugly yellow Ferrari collection, and I'll leave it at that. The rest of my analysis focuses on vehicles valued between $20,000 and $100,000, because that's where the majority of enthusiasts like you and me drive the hobby. So year over year in the $20,000 to $100,000 cohort, Mecum dropped 8% in the number of cars they offered. Is the market dying? Is Mecum in trouble? Should you panic sell your car? No. And here's why. The sell-through rate stayed exactly the same. Nearly 77% of vehicles that crossed the block found buyers at Mecum. That's the same as last year. Buyer confidence remained unchanged. So what's happening? Mecum got pickier. They're curating harder. They didn't fail to attract inventory. They rejected more of it. Quality over quantity. And you know what? That's exactly what we do here at Guys with Rides. We turn down many submissions because I'd rather have 10 exceptional cars than 20 mediocre ones every single time. The market's not shrinking, it's maturing. The days of throw anything with four wheels on the block are over. And that's mainly a reflection of sites like Bring a Trailer and the others, including mine, that are putting pressure on the traditional auction sites like Mecum to offer inventory. Now here's where things get really interesting. Check out this weirdness. The average price at Mecum Kissimmee went up year over year. However, the median price went down. And oddly enough, by the exact same percentage. How is that even possible? Think of it like this. If Jeff Bezos walks into a bar, the average net worth in that bar skyrockets to like $1 billion. But the median guy, the middle guy in the room, is still ordering the cheapest beer he can afford. The high end grew, but the middle got squeezed. So what does this mean for you? If you have an exceptional car, I'm talking about pristine condition, low mileage, fully documented, factory correct, you're going to get top dollar. The rich collectors are looking for quality and they're willing to pay for it. But if you're selling a nice driver, you know, the runs great, needs nothing, solid car, welcome to the Thunderdome. You're competing on price now. The middle market is getting brutal. The market is splitting. You need to choose your lane carefully. Be exceptional or be cheap. There's no comfortable middle ground anymore. This is the stat that made me spit up my coffee. I legitimately had to check my formulas several times to make sure I wasn't making a mistake. But the data doesn't lie. So my analysis revealed that the low mileage premium tripled year over year at Mecum Kissimmee. Let me translate that from percentages to actual dollars, because percentages can be boring. That's not take your spouse to a nice dinner money. That's buy a whole new Malaise Monday project car money. That's I can finally rebuild the transmission kind of money. And here's what this tells me about the market. Buyers are hunting for survivors. They want time capsules, original paint, original interior, original drivetrain, original everything. They're done with drivers. They're done with restored cars. They want preserved cars. But here's the critical part. If you have a survivor, you have to be able to prove it. Significant service records, ideally back to day one. Old registration cards with mileage. Dated photos through the years. The original window sticker. The build sheet. Because buyers are skeptical, as they should be. So the lesson learned is document everything, photograph everything, prove everything. So while we're talking about what's hot, let's talk about European cars, because something really interesting is happening with imports at American auctions. Mercedes-Benz sales up 42%. Porsche sales up 38%. Meanwhile, Chevy and Ford sales are down. Now, American muscle still dominates by pure volume. Chevy and Ford are still the kings in terms of total sales, but the growth, it's all European. European luxury and sports cars went from 7.4% of the market to 9.3%. That may not sound huge to you, but in auction terms, that's massive movement. So why is that happening? I think it's three things. One, European cars come with better documentation. The Germans love documentation. Service books with stamps, detailed VIN histories, every oil change recorded. It's cultural. They just document better. Two, they're appreciating faster because they're rare at American auctions. It's supply and demand. There are 169 Camaros for every clean R107 Mercedes SL. Three, and this is my more conjecture than actual data, although Haggerty's insurance data bears this out, I think younger buyers are entering the market. And younger buyers grew up playing Gran Turismo and Forza Motorsport, not watching American Graffiti. And you have to bear something else in mind. Baby boomers are fast approaching their 70s and 80s, while Gen Xers are in their late 50s and early 60s, and even the oldest millennials now are in their mid-40s. With Gen Xers and millennials hitting their peak earning years, that's what's driving the shift in the market. And here's the thing. This isn't just about taste. It's about demographics. The guys who bought 1950s cars in the 70s and 80s, they're in their 70s and 80s now. They're downsizing. They're selling collections. Meanwhile, Gen X and millennials with money to spend, they don't have nostalgia for 1959. They have the nostalgia for the cars they grew up with. 80s, 90s, early 2000s. This is why you're seeing European sports cars and JDM or Japanese domestic market cars appreciate faster. This is why young-timers, cars from the 1980s through early 2000s, are becoming a real category. The market is aging into a new generation of buyers with completely different wants. But if you're sitting on a survivor quality Mercedes SL and a clean air-cooled Porsche 911, or perhaps a pristine E30 BMW, this is your moment. List it now. All right, let's get into what I think is the most shocking finding in this entire 3-day data deep dive I completed. We need to talk about the 1950s, because the 1950s are literally splitting in half right before our eyes. Early 1950s cars were up 28% year over year at Mecum Kissimmee. Meanwhile, late 50s examples were down 11%. That's a 39-point spread. And when you drill down into specific years, hold on to your seats. 1959, the height of American excess. Huge tail fins, massive chrome, wild styling. The cars your grandparents thought were from the future. And here's the crazy part. The icon cars from the late 50s, first generation Thunderbirds and Corvettes, while they were down 14% in volume, prices were also down about 8%. Okay, not great, but survivable. But everything else from 1959, absolutely massacred at Mecum this year. So what's the lesson here? The icon cars survive while the supporting cast gets left behind. Now compare all of that late 1950s carnage to the early 1950s. The early 1950s, the boring years, the years nobody talks about at cruise nights, the years without the chrome, the tail fins, without the sexy styling. They were up 28%. And pre-World War II offerings, don't even get me started. Pre-war cars were actually up 62% year over year. So if you own a late 1950s car that is not an icon, and you've been thinking, I'll sell it next year, prices will be better, I would seriously reconsider that timeline. The market's cooling for these cars, and it might cool even more. But if you've got an early 1950s car, particularly one of the early pillarless hardtops, gathering dust in your barn, clean it up, document it, photograph it. Now is your moment. Strike while the iron's hot. In my hand is $500 that most classic car auction sites wouldn't even think about spending on your collector car. Bring a trailer and all the rest, charge you a Benjamin just to list your car. We flip that. This goes into professional photography, video, and a pre-purchase inspection first. All you pay up front is this. No dealers, only vetted private sellers and buyers. We reject over half the submissions we receive. Think your ride makes the cut? Guyswithrides.com, where we invest first. All right, let's switch gears completely and talk about Bring a Trailer, because BAT is a completely different game than Mecum. And the numbers are fascinating. I've been tracking Bring a Trailer's daily and monthly statistics for nearly 10 years. And folks, something is happening. Bring a Trailer listed nearly 14% more vehicles in 2025 than the prior year. In real numbers, that's 5,500 more auctions year over year. But here's what's wild. Their overall advertised sell-through rate actually improved. They got bigger, and on the surface, they got bigger and better at the same time. How is that possible? Usually when auctions scale up, quality goes down. It's like when your favorite local restaurant opens a second location. Somehow the food's never quite as good, right? That's the case with Bring a Trailer. They have more volume with a higher success rate. But I'd argue quality is going down. A seller just tried to auction a Cadillac on Bring a Trailer using AI photos. It got approved. It went live. Nobody caught it until bidders asked questions. Nearly 50,000 auctions a year. This is the stuff that happens when you focus on quantity versus quality. So how are they doing this? 2 letters, NR, no reserve. Year over year, Bring a Trailer saw a 20% increase in the number of no reserve listings they offer, to the point now that nearly half of Bring a Trailer's offerings are no reserve auctions. In 2025, 44% of all Bring a Trailer listings were no reserve. That's up from 42% in 2024. And no reserve listings grew at more than double the rate of reserve listings. 20% growth versus 9% growth. Bring a Trailer continues to systematically pressure sellers to go no reserve. I've seen it firsthand. From Bring a Trailer's perspective, it's working brilliantly. No reserve creates urgency. This car will sell tonight is a powerful motivation for buyers. More bidding activity, more engagement, more eyeballs, more comments. On the flip side, let's talk about what no reserve means for sellers. First, zero price protection. Your car sells at whatever the market bids, period. Even if it's $15,000 below what you know the car's worth, you're committed in a no reserve auction. Second, timing risk is magnified. Bring a Trailer decides to list it on Thanksgiving week, or happens to be during a snowstorm like right now, or even worse, and is becoming more and more common on that platform. 3 similar cars are offered in the same week. Too bad. One slow bidding week could cost you thousands, and there's no second chance. Third, you're gambling with market sentiment. If negative comments dominate early, or if something in the inspection reveals issues that kill momentum, bidding stalls. and you're stuck selling at a depressed price. And fourth, there's no recourse for a low sale. Sell 30% below the market value, Bring a Trailer still collects their fees, and you absorb the entire loss. It's just like gambling at a casino. With a Bring a Trailer no reserve auction, the house wins either way. Here's the reality. No reserve auctions transfer all the risk from the platform to the seller. While Bring a Trailer guarantees their revenue, sellers in the $20,000 to $100,000 range are gambling their equity on unpredictable market conditions with no safety net if bids fall short. If you list a car with a reserve price on Bring a Trailer, you have a 54% chance of the car staying in your garage after the end of the auction. Let me say that again, 54%. No sale. That's worse than a coin flip. You're more than likely not to sell than to sell. And that number's getting worse, not better. Reserve sell-through actually dropped nearly 2 percentage points year over year. The numbers don't lie. Bring a Trailer reserves are a trap. Here's something that blew my mind when I calculated it. In October 2025, Bring a Trailer listed 4,988 cars. In 1 month. That's 161 cars per day. On one new auction, roughly every 9 minutes, every day of the week. Crazy. How is anyone supposed to keep up with that? How do you even browse that much content? Even worse, there's a risk your rare car might be up against a similarly rare example at the same time. This is Bring a Trailer's superpower and their weakness all at the same time. What the superpower? You have tons of option as a buyer. The weakness? On any given day, your car is competing against over 700 active auctions on that site. This is why you're seeing how professional photography matters, where detailed descriptions matter, timing matters. And that's why you're seeing more and more sellers paying big bucks to use power sellers to have a chance to actually sell on Bring a Trailer. You just can't throw your car on Bring a Trailer anymore and expect the algorithm to save you. You need strategy, which is why my 3P model works the way it does. At Guys with Rides, I list a couple of cars per week, not 161 per day. Your car gets actual attention, not 1,000th of it. All right, so I've thrown a lot of numbers at you. Let me bring this all together on what it really means. It depends on what you need. You want maximum reach with the lowest fees, and Bring a Trailer no reserve is risky, but it's an option. Need to sell with price protection? Mecum or regional auctions might be your best bet, although the fees are much higher. But if you want personalized service and professional presentation, call me. There's no one-size-fits-all answer. Know your goals, know your car, choose strategically. All right, look, classic and collector car market in 2025 and so far in 2026 is fascinating. It's not crashing. It's not exploding. It's evolving. The winners are low mileage, well-documented cars, early 1950s and pre-war, European imports, and sellers who do their homework. The losers, late 50s cars, nice driver cars with no documentation, Bring a Trailer reserve price listings, and people who wing it without doing their research. And here's my shameless plug. This is exactly why I built Guys with Rides the way I did. My 3P partnership plan, where I invest $500 up front in professional photos and inspection. And as a seller, you pay just $1 up front to list. And if the car sells, I charge you 2% and the buyer 2%. It's designed for this exact market. My site gives you the digital reach and visibility that high volume sites like Bring a Trailer no longer can do. So if you've got a classic car in the $20,000 to $100,000 range and want to stand out from the crowd, check us out. If you enjoyed this deep dive, and if you're nerdy like me, who wouldn't enjoy 30 minutes of spreadsheet analysis, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment telling me what auction you want me to analyze next. Barrett Jackson, Hemmings, Cars and Bids? Let me know. I'll find the data. Thanks for watching More Auction Secrets Revealed. I'm Rudy from Guys with Rides, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching this video. Please press the like and subscribe button, comment below, and be sure to check out our other videos on this subject, as well as all of the great content on our YouTube channel. If you have any questions, you can call me at the number listed below, Or be sure to check out our main website, guyswithrides.com.